Imagine an army so fearless, so disciplined, that even one of the greatest empires in history trembled at its name. An African kingdom born from struggle, rising from dust, transforming ordinary men into warriors feared across continents. A kingdom whose soldiers fought with courage that shocked the world. A king whose brilliance changed warfare forever. But also, a kingdom whose rise came at a terrible cost. Because power, no matter how mighty, often attracts enemies. And sometimes, the same fire that builds an empire slowly begins to destroy it. Tonight we uncover one of Africa's most astonishing stories, a story of war, power, courage, betrayal, and survival. This is the untold rise and tragic fall of the Zulu Empire. Before we begin, subscribe to African Tales Arising, like this video, and tell us in the comments, would you survive life in the Zulu kingdom? Now, let us travel back in time, far back, to southern Africa, a land of rolling hills, wide grasslands, and fierce rival tribes. Long before modern borders existed, long before the world truly understood Africa's power, the Zulu people were small, very small. In fact, many people today would be shocked to learn that the mighty Zulu kingdom did not begin as a powerful empire. No, it began as something far humbler, a tiny clan, almost invisible, living among stronger neighboring groups. Few people feared them, few respected them, and almost nobody believed they would become legendary. But history has a strange habit. Sometimes, the smallest spark creates the greatest fire. At the center of this story stood a boy who would later become one of the most feared rulers in African history. His name was Shaka. But Shaka's early life was far from glorious. He was born under difficult circumstances. His parents' relationship was controversial, and because of this, he suffered rejection, humiliation, mockery. People whispered, people insulted him. He was treated like an outsider. Imagine growing up hearing that you were unwanted, that you did not belong, that you would never become important. Many would break, many would surrender, but not Shaka. Pain transformed him. Every insult became fuel, every humiliation became motivation, and slowly, something dangerous began growing inside him. A hunger, a burning determination, a refusal to remain weak. As he grew older, Shaka became a warrior under the powerful Mthethwa chiefdom led by Dingiswayo. This changed everything, because for the first time, Shaka entered a world where strength mattered, discipline mattered, strategy mattered, and Shaka was watching, learning, studying. He observed how warriors fought, how armies moved, how leaders made decisions. But he noticed something troubling. The traditional way of fighting was weak. Battles were often short. Warriors threw spears from a distance. Enemies escaped too easily. Victory was uncertain. Shaka hated inefficiency. He believed war should be decisive, fast, terrifying. He began imagining a new way, a deadlier way. And soon, he would change warfare forever. Instead of throwing spears from far away, Shaka introduced a shorter stabbing spear, a brutal weapon designed for close combat. Its purpose: not to scare enemies, not to warn enemies, but to destroy them. Warriors were trained to fight face to face, no fear, no hesitation, only victory. But that was not all. Shaka transformed military discipline. Young men trained relentlessly. Endurance became everything. Warriors marched long distances barefoot across rough land. Pain was not an excuse. Weakness was unacceptable. Cowardice, unforgivable. The army became organized unlike anything nearby kingdoms had seen. Disciplined units, strict formations, deadly coordination. And then came one of Shaka's greatest innovations, a military strategy so effective that enemies struggled to survive it. It was called the buffalo horn formation. Imagine a buffalo charging, its horns surrounding prey, trapping escape, destroying resistance. This is exactly how the Zulu fought. The strongest warriors attacked the center. Fast-moving units surrounded enemies from both sides. Reserve forces waited behind. Anyone trapped rarely escaped. Fear spread. Neighboring groups began hearing stories of warriors who never stopped advancing, stories of terrifying battle cries, stories of impossible victories. And suddenly, people began paying attention to the once small Zulu clan. But power changes everything, soon. The tiny Zulu people became stronger, then stronger still. Villages joined them, enemies fell, territories expanded, the impossible was happening, the forgotten clan was becoming a kingdom. And at the center stood Shaka, no longer mocked, no longer rejected, but feared, respected, legendary. And Shaka's rule was not gentle. He demanded obedience, absolute obedience. Mistakes brought punishment. Disloyalty was dangerous. Mercy was limited. Some saw him as a genius, others saw him as ruthless. But nobody doubted one thing: he was changing history. Across southern Africa, entire communities felt the shockwaves of Zulu expansion. Some tribes joined willingly, others resisted, many fled. A period of massive conflict and migration spread through the region. Kingdoms rose, kingdoms collapsed, entire populations moved. Fear traveled faster than armies. Parents warned children about the Zulu warriors. Chiefs lost sleep. Rulers worried. Could anyone stop Shaka? Could anyone challenge this growing storm? For years, the answer seemed to be no. Victory after victory strengthened the kingdom. The Zulu army became a machine, organized, disciplined, merciless. And then, tragedy struck. A tragedy that changed everything. Shaka deeply loved his mother. She meant the world to him. Her guidance shaped his life. Her presence grounded him. But when she died, something broke inside him. Grief consumed him. Pain transformed him again. Only this time it was darker, much darker. Stories say extreme mourning was demanded. Some accounts claim severe punishments followed. Fear increased, people suffered, and slowly, even loyal supporters became worried. Was Shaka changing? Was grief destroying him? Powerful leaders around him began whispering, and whispers can become dangerous. Eventually, a betrayal emerged. The king who built an empire, the warrior who terrified nations, the ruler who transformed Africa forever, was assassinated, killed not by foreign enemies, but by people close to him. The mighty Shaka was gone, and suddenly, the future became uncertain. Could the kingdom survive without him? Would enemies finally destroy the Zulu? Or had Shaka built something too powerful to collapse? The answer would shock everyone, because the Zulu kingdom survived, and in many ways, continued growing. New kings emerged, new warriors rose, the empire adapted, but danger was coming, a danger unlike anything before, because far away, across oceans, another empire was expanding, the British Empire, one of the most powerful forces the world had ever seen. They had ships, guns, global influence, advanced weapons, and enormous confidence. They believed Africa would eventually submit, like many others had. But they underestimated one thing: the Zulu spirit. When tensions grew between the British and the Zulu kingdom, war became inevitable. The year was 1879, and few believed Africans could seriously challenge Britain. After all, Britain had modern rifles, cannons, military prestige. The outcome seemed obvious, or so they thought. Then came one of the greatest military surprises in history, the Battle of Isandlwana, a moment that stunned the world. Thousands of British troops believed they were prepared. They believed victory was certain. But the Zulu had other plans, moving strategically, using discipline perfected over generations. The Zulu army advanced, fast, focused, fearless. British soldiers fired rifles, but confusion spread. Formations weakened, the Zulu closed the distance, and once they reached close combat, everything changed. The battlefield exploded into chaos. Courage met steel, discipline met determination, and against expectations, the Zulu overwhelmed British forces. It became one of Britain's worst colonial defeats. The world could not believe it. How had an African kingdom defeated a global empire? Shock spread across newspapers, across governments, across military circles. The impossible had happened. But victory came with consequences. Britain was humiliated, and powerful empires rarely accept humiliation quietly. Reinforcements came, more soldiers arrived, bigger weapons followed. The British prepared revenge, the war intensified, battles became brutal. The Zulu fought with extraordinary bravery. But technology matters, and over time, British firepower grew overwhelming. The kingdom struggled, resources weakened, pressure increased. Eventually, the Zulu kingdom fell under colonial control, the mighty empire, broken, but not forgotten, because something remarkable happened. Even in defeat, the Zulu legacy survived. Their courage inspired generations. Their military brilliance fascinated historians. Their resistance became legendary. Even British soldiers respected Zulu bravery. Today, the Zulu people remain one of Africa's most influential cultural groups. Their traditions live on, their language survives, their pride endures, and their story still echoes through history. Because the Zulu kingdom proved something important, Africa was never weak, Africa was never powerless. Africa produced warriors, strategists, kings, empires, civilizations capable of astonishing greatness. And though many histories ignored these stories, they deserve to be remembered, because somewhere inside forgotten history are lessons about courage, leadership, power, and survival. The Zulu Empire rose from almost nothing, a small clan nobody respected, to a kingdom powerful enough to challenge one of history's strongest empires, and perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Never underestimate those the world overlooks, because today's forgotten people may become tomorrow's legends. So the next time someone says Africa had no great empires, tell them about the Zulu, tell them about courage, tell them about warriors who refused surrender, and tell them about a king named Shaka who changed history forever. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to African Tales Arising, like the video, and share your thoughts below. Do you think the Zulu kingdom could have survived if Shaka had lived longer? Until next time, keep discovering Africa's untold stories, because history is far more powerful than many were ever taught to believe.